Hello everyone, and as always, welcome back to my channel. Or if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. My name is Marlene and I talk about eating disorder recovery and everything related to healing the relationship with your own body, with food and with movement. And before we're going to jump into the topic, I have two more questions for you guys. A little over a year ago, I actually asked my community if you want to see an interview with my boyfriend who's a personal trainer. As you guys know, I'm an eating disorder recovery coach, and a lot of people might even ask how that goes together. Like, how can an eating disorder recovery coach work with a personal trainer? Is personal training really always about weight loss? How does he handle certain situations? Is he maybe focusing on something else? All these topics. And a lot of you guys were actually really interested, and to be honest, I just didn't follow up with it. But now that my channel is growing, I wanted to give you guys the chance again and ask, do you still want to see that video? Do you have certain questions for him? I can promise you we're not going to talk about anything triggering. We're not going to mention numbers. As you guys know, that's not something that I'm doing on my channel. But yeah, let me know if that is still interesting for you, and also if you have specific questions for him. But now back to the topic. And today we're going to talk about how to become confident in eating disorder recovery, after eating disorder recovery. Maybe if you're still not loving your own body, is that even possible? And the answer is yes. But with confidence, there are a lot of misconceptions. Oftentimes we think we have to be confident in order to do certain things. I remember when I was in eating disorder recovery, I felt like, oh, I have to wait until I can wear certain outfits. I had this whole mood board on Pinterest that initially was actually there to motivate myself and to see, oh, there are different body forms and all of them can look beautiful. But then when I was in eating disorder recovery and I was in overshoot weight and I felt like, oh, I don't look like any of these body types. So my eating disorder would find a reason for every outfit for me not to wear it. It was like, oh, but she's probably taller and she's probably skinnier and she might be the same weight, but her body composition is different. And so I told myself, I'm just going to wait to wear certain outfits. And that was the first mistake I made. Because if you tell yourself that you have to wait until your body changes again, you are still stuck in this whole appearance thing, and you still tell yourself, oh, my appearance has to change first before I can become confident. I recently read a quote that I wanted to share with you guys. That quote came from a TED Talk. I can actually link it in the description box if you guys are interested. And the woman said, confidence is the output, not the input. Confidence comes from action. And so, you know me guys, I'm a science geek, and of course I did a lot of research afterwards, and I started to understand that she is actually right. If we look at our brain and we look at it from a scientific level, confidence can actually only grow if you're taking action, because you can't think yourself confident. Just as you can think yourself out of an eating disorder, you can't just think yourself into, oh, I'm going to be confident. Part of it has to do with the way you speak with yourself, with your beliefs, but a big part of it is actually the action. So if we're afraid of something and we're not doing it, or we're waiting for our bodies to change or for anything else to change, chances are that we get so stuck in the belief of, oh, I have to wait until something changes, and that means I cannot be confident with myself now. We're literally teaching our brains that we're not allowed to be confident in the current moment. One of the reasons why that is because our brains are wired for safety, not for success. And I want you to let that sink in, because it's such an important thing to understand. We as human beings are wired for safety and for survival. And oftentimes our brain thinks those are the same things when they are actually not. And eating disorder recovery is a great example for that, because it might feel safer to stay in the eating disorder, but it might not even be the right way to survive. And even if we just survive with it, we're not going to thrive, we're not going to live. But our brains are wired for safety and not for success. That means that our brains want us to stay in that comfort zone. They want us to stay where it's safe. And safe is everything that we know. So oftentimes the eating disorder becomes safe because first of all, it gives us this false sense of control. But second of all, we know it. Especially if we've had it for a long time, we know it. Everything outside of that seems scary. We don't even know what's out there. We don't even know who we are without an eating disorder. We don't even know how to eat normally without an eating disorder. There are so many levels to it, from the actual habits, from movement, eating, what to eat, how much to eat, but also underlying levels. Who am I? Who am I if I'm not that perfect person with a toned body? Who am I if I'm not my sick personality? You see, there's different kinds of that, and every person has their individual story. Somebody might identify as the sick person, somebody might identify as the perfect person, as the toned person, as the athletic person, or something completely different. But all these identities that we kind of step into with our eating disorders are not our true selves. But it can be scary if we don't know who we are without an eating disorder. And that's where that saying comes in. If we're wired for survival, it only makes sense that we don't want to change anything. But there is something called success that we can all achieve. Our brains might not even like the idea of success, or rather the idea of getting there. Because in order to be successful with something, we normally have to step out of your comfort zone. Regardless of what you want to be successful in. Somebody who wants to have a successful career and wants to be above and beyond, they probably have to work more than their comfort zone would tell them to. And somebody who wants to recover from an eating disorder has to step out of their comfort zone too in order to successfully recover. Once I heard that sentence, so many things cleared up for me. I was like, that makes so much sense. Because again, if we feel into ourselves, and every person, regardless of if you're in recovery or not, knows a situation like this where our brains are wired for survival, but we actually know if we want to succeed with something, we have to step out of that comfort zone. The same person said in her talk, fuck the mood, follow the plan. And I know it sounds extreme, and if you know me, if you've worked with me before, or if you're working with me currently, you know that I will never be the kind of coach that is just like, oh yeah, just ignore your feelings and do it. We will definitely work through it step by step, and we will work on a plan that makes you feel confident. But that's what I'm saying when I say follow the plan. When I say fuck the mood, or when I quote this quote where the woman said fuck the mood, what we mean is that you cannot be reliant on your mood. Everyone who was ever in recovery or is in recovery right now knows that your mood will not be stable in recovery. You might have a little spike of motivation in the beginning or throughout recovery, and that is amazing, but there will be many, many times where there is no motivation, where the mood is low, where you don't want to do it, where everything in you screams that you want to go back. And that's why we have to say, fuck the mood. Ignore the mood and follow the plan. And the plan is to recover. The plan is to eat. The plan is to not exercise. The plan is to rest. The plan is to revire. That is the plan. And sometimes we don't even know how, and that is okay. We as human beings are so keen on planning everything out. We all want to know the next year or so. So oftentimes, one thing that is holding people back from starting recovering is like, I don't even know how. I don't know how I'm going to cope with this. I don't know how I'm going to do this and that is okay. Again, if you know me from working with me, you know that in the beginning, I will always tell you it is okay. I'm here for that. Can you trust me that we can work through this together and that you don't know the whole plan yet? And that level of trust is important if you're working with somebody or if you're doing recovery on your own, but the level of trust that things will solve themselves. You are so much stronger than this, and you will get through it even if you don't know how to yet. Another very important sentence that I want to quote from that talk is, don't try to get rid of the fear. Do the things while you are scared. Don't let the fear stop you. Overcome it, and it will go by itself. And you probably have heard me saying that 100 times already in my videos. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And I know it might sound impossible, but recovery is all about that. I've rarely ever met somebody who was not afraid of recovery, who was not afraid of either the weight gain, challenging beliefs, the identity, any level. But let's be honest, for many, many people, the weight gain or the feeling of, oh, I'm going to lose control over my body or over my food can be one of the biggest fears. But in order to work through this fear, you have to do it first. That's what I always tell my clients. If you think about recovery and think about, oh, I'm not going to be able to cope with the fear, I'm going to be so afraid, it's going to be so cruel and so bad, then you will never be able to actually work on that. We can only work on the emotions that will come up when you go through the fear. So feel the fear and do it anyway. on a scientific level also has a big impact on your brain, because when we do something that we're afraid of, but we do it anyway and we get through it and we notice we can do it, it has such a big impact on our confidence. And I know I mentioned body confidence in the beginning, and I will definitely get there in a second because I know it's an important topic, but I also want you guys to understand that body confidence is never really about how the body looks. There are people out there who struggled with their body their whole life and that went on diets. For instance, Georgie Thomas is one of these amazing people who is sharing her story and who's now working with people. I can also link her or blend her profile in here. And she is someone who talked about that topic a lot. Her whole life, or like her whole life until her 30s, she was doing diets. She was always trying to control her food, all in order to feel better about her body, in order to feel confident. And once she let go, she actually became truly confident. And she is now this beautiful, stunning, confident woman that is radiating and that is teaching other women how to be confident with, many, many pounds more, and she doesn't even care about that. So confidence is never really about the body, even though it feels like it. But it's important to understand that you can get to body confidence while doing other things and showing yourself that you're capable of doing other things. And that being said, it might not always feel good in the moment, but that's the whole point. We want to challenge the thing that doesn't feel good. You're basically making yourself uncomfortable so that you can grow. And that is actually something that I told myself in recovery over and over again when I was getting uncomfortable, whether it was because of, clothes size that went up, whether it was because I was looking in the mirror, whether it was because of something that I've eaten, a comment that somebody made. As you guys know, I didn't weigh myself in recovery, and I would advise you guys to not do that either. But whatever it was that made me feel uncomfortable, I told myself, I am making myself uncomfortable so that I can grow. Because with the phrase, I am making myself uncomfortable, first of all, it gave me that feeling, I am actually doing that, so it is planned, so I'm sticking to the plan. It's not something that is out of my control. And at the same time, I need to be uncomfortable in order to get there, in order to get successful. So in eating disorder recovery, it is very, very important to understand the feelings that will come up, the things that you feel, whether it is panic, fear, hate. Oftentimes we really feel so much hate for our bodies, even though we should feel hate for the eating disorder. But everything that comes up is not your new normal. Recovery is such a transition state that you cannot tell yourself, this is how I'm going to feel the rest of my life. And it can be very hard to believe that, but I promise you, I've worked with so many people, I've been through it myself, I know how psychology works. It is really true. The things that come up are not your new normal. Those are the things that come up in this transition state because you're finally stepping out of your comfort zone. You will have a variety of other feelings when you are fully recovered, and most importantly, you will not hate your body. You will not have that panic anymore. All these extreme emotions, the extreme panic, the extreme fear, this will all balance out. And I'm not saying that you won't have hard times after recovering. Life itself has a lot of tough situations, and we will always have to cope with emotions, but you will always be able to look back and tell yourself, I did this super hard thing. I recovered. And again, speaking from my own experience, this is so powerful. This year I've had quite a few tough situations, but one thing that I can always remind myself of is, you did it. You did the hardest thing that somebody can do. You recovered from a deathly illness. So I think I can do this too. With confidence, the thing is, you kind of need to train it like a muscle. You have to do the things over and over again. And especially in recovery, that is so important. You cannot just challenge something once and then go back to your comfort zone. You have to do it over and over and over again. Your brain basically needs evidence that this is okay to be your new normal, because for the brain, doing it once is a start, but it's not going to be enough, especially when we're working around against those things that have been around for so long. We need to do it over and over again. And when I say the brain needs evidence, that is exactly what I mean. The brain needs evidence that eating a certain thing is okay. Those of you who have been in recovery for a while or who started with All In very early on probably know that. You probably had a list of fear foods, so many things that you would avoid or only eat under certain circumstances, and now the more you do it, the more normal they become. When I started recovery, I came from an extremely restrictive point where I had so many food rules, and the majority of foods that you can even think of were not in my possibilities. And so I started to go all in, and I like fully listened to my hunger cues and to my cravings. And of course, my body was not craving the lettuce, my body was craving all those things that I didn't allow myself for so long. And I was afraid as but I was also very, very excited. And honestly, that helped me in the beginning, and we're going to talk about the excitement and the excitement going away in another video. But in the beginning, it helped me, and after a couple of weeks, I rarely had any fear foods left. So that is just an example of brain needs the evidence that it's okay, and we need to do it over and over again, and all of a sudden, we're not going to be scared anymore. When it comes to the body, that part can stick around for so much longer. Challenging your fear foods and doing the thing is super important, and it's amazing if you do it. But it will not just automatically erase all the thoughts and all the issues you have with your body image. That's a completely different level. So let's talk about that. First of all, and those of you who have watched me for a while or who are working with me know that I'm not the biggest fan of jumping right into self-love, body love. If you can do that, that's amazing. I think there is nothing wrong with it. It's not arrogant, it's not egotistical. I think it's amazing if you can truly love your body. But if you come from the other extreme, if you come from an eating disorder, we want to neutralize first. We don't even have to get you to, oh, I love myself so much. The first step is to neutralize. And from there on, you can see if you want to go further, if this is enough for you. Because let's be honest, there is nothing wrong with having a neutral idea about yourself, about your body. I am fully recovered, and for the most part, I'm really confident, but I have days where I don't like what I see when I look in the mirror, and that is okay. But the important part is that it doesn't have too much space in my day, it's not going to ruin my day, it's not going to ruin the things that I have planned, and most importantly, it's never going to change anything about my eating or about my movement. So how do we get there? How do we get to neutralizing our body image and neutralizing our bodies in our brains when we come from a place where it was the most important thing for so long? The first step is to question the beliefs, not the body. And that is where many, many people get stuck, because we have a bad body image day, we look in the mirror, maybe we change our outfit 5 times, we see something that changed or something that we don't like about ourselves. Oftentimes people get an extreme detail focus. So for instance, if you have certain parts of your body that you don't like, then you zoom in on them and you see them in every reflection. And so it just becomes this whole wheel of self-hatred, negative self-talk, and it has an impact on your whole day or maybe even your whole week. What we don't do in that situation normally, because we're so automatically in this wheel that we know and that is so familiar. So what we oftentimes don't do is to question the beliefs behind it. To question, well, even if my arms look big, what is bad about it? Or to question, maybe I'm not seeing myself objectively. Maybe somebody else doesn't even notice. Why can't I neutralize it? So the beliefs we have about ourselves, and especially about how we have to look like or what we should look like, those are the key when it comes to this first step. Because again, it's so automatic that we oftentimes don't even think about, but why should I have arms that look different? Why do I even think that's a thing? And why do I think it has to do with my self-worth? Why do I feel less when my arms are bigger? And I know in theory that all sounds great, and in practice it takes way longer, and there's definitely way more steps to go into deep with it. So if you're working with a therapist or with a coach, you can always bring that up, and I'm pretty sure they will help you to work through this. But on the surface level, that would be the first step. And even if you don't work with somebody right now or don't really know how to get deeper into it, just keep this in mind. The next time you see your reflection and the next time you spiral down like this, try to question the belief instead of questioning the body, because it can make a huge shift and it will also shift your focus. The next step is one that can be very controversial, and I know from bringing it up in sessions with clients that most clients are very hesitant, and I understand it because I have been through it myself. The next step would be to dress for now and not for someday. That means to not hide your body all the time and to wait to wear the cute outfits for someday, especially, someday when my body will change again, but to still wear the cute outfits. And again, I know that there are many layers to it, and I even said it in the beginning, in my recovery, I had a hard time doing it, and it took me a long time to actually get there, and to, eventually I did dress for my bigger body, and I did dress the way I wanted to instead of hiding it. But I also know that there are different steps to it. I know a lot of amazing coaches. One of them was actually on my channel a couple of weeks ago, who are very, very cutthroat with this, and they're just like, it, you have to do it. There is no way you can ever like hide your body, and I completely respect that. But I also think, again, in recovery there are levels to it, and there is a time where, especially in the beginning, I think it's okay to not completely challenge that whole clothes thing. But I also think there comes a point in recovery where it becomes very important and where you should work on not hiding your body all the time. The next step would be to practice embodiment. When we say practice embodiment, what we mean is, in order to get more neutral with your body and with your body image and the way you perceive yourself, we kind of want to step away from what the body looks like, especially because we don't have an objective opinion here anyway and an objective gaze anyway, but we want to get to what the body feels like. And don't get me wrong, especially in recovery, your body oftentimes doesn't feel great. I'm going to make another video about that too, but whether it's bloating, whether it's aching, whether it's water retention, whether it's like weird pain that you've never noticed before, all these things are very, very common, but I know that they can make it very hard to even feel good in your body. But there comes a point where maybe some of this pain goes away, or maybe even moments where you can still feel good in your body, where the fatigue is going away for a little bit, or where you can do things in your body. So when we talk about embodiment, we don't only mean how you feel in the current moment, but also what your body is allowing you to do. Whether it is holding your knees, whether it is going for a walk with your dog, or whether it is just having a night out and not overthinking calories and the way you look like, even though sometimes these things come together. In my recovery, I had many times where I could feel good in my body, but I couldn't feel good about my body. And that's okay. It's okay to kind of have these both things coexisting, because it would be a really big step to go from hating your body to absolutely loving your body and never having those moments of, oh, I don't feel good about my body anymore. But it's also important to understand that it is possible to not feel great about your body, but to still feel good in your body. Those are two different things that oftentimes is very mixed up by the eating disorder. I know that I mentioned values a lot before, but I actually mean it when I say values play such a big role in eating disorder recovery. Focus on your values and you will see that you are so much more than your body. If you are, for instance, a person that values human connection, you will be able to have such deeper connections once you recover than you had before in your eating disorder. But whatever your values are, it is important to like really get to the core of your values instead of having the values that you think you should have. Because those are two different things, and we oftentimes think, oh, I should value the environment, I should value certain things, when if that is not your core value, that's okay. It's all about getting to the core of your identity and then also living up to it. And again, normally we can actually live up to our values way better once we recover than when we stick with our eating disorder. Now, there is a difference. Oftentimes in recovery, we don't really have the energy, we don't even have the focus to focus on our core values, and that is okay. Don't beat yourself up if you're fatigued and you're tired and you're just like overwhelmed with recovery and therefore not really doing the things that you want to do or that would, stick with your values. That is okay. As I said before, recovery is a transition phase, and the most important thing is to take care of yourself, to rest, and to really not make yourself do something that you don't have the energy for right now. The next point is pretty self-explanatory, but it actually is very important, and that is unfollow the shame. Unfollow social media accounts that make you feel bad, and follow everything and everyone that is talking about topics that are triggering you, because in the end it also has an impact on our subconscious mind, and we want to make sure that we actually feed our subconscious mind with the things that we want to live up to. So for instance, following people who embody body positivity, body neutrality, who show that everybody is beautiful, who show different sizes, different shapes of bodies, but who also show the things that are normal about a body, the body hair, the rolls, the stretch marks, all the things that are not polished, that are not photoshopped, and that will have an impact on your subconscious mind in comparison to following the people that you might have followed in your eating disorder as an quote-unquote inspiration, when no, they actually make you feel bad. And the last point, I know that I also mentioned that a lot, but it really has such an impact, is speak how you want to feel. The way you speak about yourself and with yourself is really important. We have thoughts all the time, and most of the time we actually kind of speak to ourselves in our mind. Sometimes we also say it out loud, and sometimes even in conversations when we speak about ourselves, especially in eating disorder recovery, we oftentimes have the feeling like we have to make sure that other people know that we're not confident. And that is like a really controversial thing. I remember when I was in recovery, I felt like, oh, I don't want anyone to think that I like my body right now, because people are like 100% judging me, so I don't want them to think that I don't see what they see, which is such a weird thing that happens with a lot of people in recovery, and it actually just leads to the fact that you're going to talk poorly about your body when normally people don't even care, or they might think you're beautiful and they're just like, oh, that's a shame that you can't see that. So speaking about ourselves the way we want to feel, speaking with ourselves the way we want to feel, and again, it's okay to neutralize it first. You don't have to tell yourself that you're the beautiful person and that you love yourself all the time if you maybe want to neutralize it first. But the way you think about yourself, you speak about yourself, has such an impact, and it's really, really important to change when you are in recovery and when you want to change the way you feel about your body. And when I say neutralizing, that can mean something like, I am learning to feel safe here, or my body is not the problem, or I don't like what I see today, but I can still have a good day. That's what I mean when I mean neutralizing. You don't even have to attach it too much to your body and to the different body parts, because then it feeds into the body focus again, into the detail focus again. You can just neutralize the whole experience and allow yourself to still have a good day and to still deserve love and to still accept love and happiness and all the things, despite maybe not feeling great about your body yet. I really hope this video helped you guys. Let me know in the comments what you're taking away from this video. Let me know if you have any other topics that you want me to cover, and otherwise I will see you in the next one.